The day I caught my fiance cheating 2 days before our wedding. I'm now 31 but this happened in 2014 when I was 26 and my ex-fiance was 25. Let's call her Barb. We met in college and dated for 3 years prior to our engagement with a wedding date booked by the 4th year. Neither of our parents are well off financially and she was attending grad school, so the financial responsibility fell on me, which totaled $20,000 that was paid in full 4 days prior to the wedding. Leading up to that nightmare of an evening, we had our typical mid-20s relationship issues with bouts of poor communication, excessive drinking on weekends, and an occasional fight over trivial. Aside from that, we had a great relationship and spent a ton of time together figuring out post-college life and planning for our future. As I said above, the wedding and reception venue cashed my check 4 days before the wedding and the contract stated this was non-refundable. Over 120 guests were confirmed, a couple dozen from out of state, tuxes and bridesmaid dresses were fitted and paid, and everything was falling into place. Now let's get to the inevitable of events that you're all interested in before I keep rambling. The night in question was a Friday evening in our new apartment that we'd moved into a few weeks prior, and we decided to have about a dozen friends over to pregame and head out to the bars in town. Included in this group of friends was my buddy whom I've known since kindergarten, we'll call him Ricky. Barb and I had spent a lot of time with Ricky over the last 3 years and he was definitely one of my pals, which is generally awesome when you're so gets along with people in your social circle. The night started at a local lounge that was so by the time we left there, a 1/5 of Jameson and 30 rack of Yingling were gone and everyone was buzzed. The next 3 hours were spent between 2 to 3 bars that resulted in the entire group devolving into a drunken, belligerent mess. Once the bars closed, most people went home with the exception of myself, Barb, Ricky, and another couple who came back to our apartment for a nightcap. Once back at our place, the couple only lasted another 20 minutes before calling it and making their way home, so I was left with Barb and friggin' Ricky. Earlier in the night at the bar, I noticed Barb checking her phone more than usual, and simultaneously Ricky checking his phone after she would lock the screen. I almost put 2 and 2 together, but why would I worry about them planning anything shady 2 days before I was supposed to marry this girl? Back at my house, I was fairly sober and noticed all the booze was gone, so I was contemplating picking up a couple of 6-packs from a local spot that stays open until 3 a.m. Barb and Ricky were definitely on the liquor and tanked, but there was no reason to suspect anything sketchy would occur if I ran out for 20 minutes. Once in my car and preparing to exit my apartment complex, I got a sinking feeling in my gut that something wasn't right, and it completely freaked me out. So, I called my best bud and he agreed to be picked up and join me on the beer run and accompany me back to the apartment. After grabbing some Bud Heavies and returning home, we walked up to the sliding glass door that led to my living room that had a sectional to the immediate right. We opened the door, took 2 steps inside the apartment, and my ex-fiancé was completely undressed and mounted on Mr. Ricky Tonsil deep down each other's throats. The amazing part of the situation was neither of them appeared to notice that my buddy and I were 10 feet away watching their sloppy, drunken escapades. After 7 to 10 seconds of attempting to comprehend the current situation, I lost it, dropped the booze, threw her backward off Ricky completely undressed, and landed too hard right to Ricky's eye and cheek while he was still laying on his back with the most terrified look on his face. To put things in perspective, I am 6', 220 pounds and have played hockey my entire life. He is 5'6", 140 pounds and a runner. Immediately following the assault with my fist, Ricky started snoring, didn't know this was a thing, and was asleep for at least 5 minutes while I was losing my mind over the situation. Without thinking, I called her parents about 10 times until they woke up and demanded they come to pick up their cheating daughter immediately. Their house was only 5 minutes down the road, so they walked in shortly thereafter while I was laying into Barb about her unforgivable, disgusting decision. Her parents frantically walked into me screaming at Barb, Ricky out on the couch, and my buddy mediating the situation. The first thing I told everyone was the wedding was off. I demanded the ring back and said I'd rather lose $20,000 than spend the rest of my life with a cheating. Her parents spent the next 20 minutes attempting to talk me out of it and occasionally defending Barb's actions, saying things like why can't you forgive her or isn't it too late to cancel the wedding? Meanwhile, Ricky woke up and the right side of his face had swollen to the size of a grapefruit and his left eye was completely shut. Kicking him out of the apartment was tough because he was too drunk to drive, so I called his brother that was 20 minutes away and spent that time laying into Barb, Ricky, and her parents. Surprisingly, I was able to stay level-headed enough to express my thoughts in such an extreme state of rage. The few times I've been this upset in the past, my brain felt like it was scrambled and I had a hard time condensing and forming my thoughts into logical statements. Not this time. By the time Ricky's brother picked him up and Barb's parents shuttled her home, I had systematically picked apart any objection, opinion, or plea for reconsideration expressed by everyone in the room. It felt really great. I'm not going to pretend the following months were easy and everything worked out in my favor. 2 months later, the pharma company I worked at decided to lay off my entire division. I had racked up thousands in credit card debt to pay for the wedding, unemployment haunted me for 5 months, and I was diagnosed with major depression. Life was up for a few years and I wouldn't wish that on anybody, but now that I'm 31 things have settled down and I couldn't be happier. Thank you for letting me get this off my chest. Story 2. Gaslit for almost 2 years by my boyfriend of 6. My ex and I had a loving and unique relationship, with an open sex life. Our rule was, if you're going to have sex, I want to be involved, I want it too. I was always allowed to look at his phone, but about a month into COVID lockdown he locked me out. And I got upset and he said he needed space. It spiraled me into a year of paranoia. Specifically about one friend in particular he had. And every time I got paranoid and jealous it would erupt into a massive fight. And after a year or so, many obvious things like her calling in the middle of the night, him insisting he needed to visit her for reasons, all of it always ended in a fight that I lost because I was being crazy. I was so sure I was crazy. I became depressed and out of control, thinking that my jealousy had ruined everything between us. I felt like I couldn't be with him or anyone without the feeling of being cheated on. About a year later, a couple months ago, he broke up with me. Mostly cause of my jealousy. He wanted to stay friends, we tried hard to let the bad things go and be platonic. We were texting daily about shows and other things we enjoyed. I moved to a new city and I quit my job. I chose to isolate myself and learn to control my obsessive jealousy. Then yesterday, I got the proof. Over a year of photos. Kissing. Holding hands. Cuddling in bed. Holding my dog. She finally decided to tell me. And I'm mad, I've never been this mad. But more so, I realized I wasn't crazy. I spent a whole year living in a lie, being lied to my face. Telling my boyfriend that I can't control this intense paranoia of him cheating on me just minutes after he had been with her. But it wasn't paranoia. I had known. My mental health was ruined. I became suicidal. I had been reading self-help books and pinpointing childhood traumas as the reason I am this way. So I guess what I'm saying is now I will always trust my gut, my heart, my brain. I feel like I was living in a cloud of lies and my body was telling me that nothing was real. And I was punishing myself, my body, for telling me what I needed to know. I'm so angry. I felt dirty and violated. 6 years of memories making me sick to my stomach.